The kingdom feared him until he gave everything to defend their princess. The Shadow Guardian. The people of Ardinia called him the Phantom Blade, though never to his face. Tarek moved through the torchlit corridors of the royal palace with practiced silence, his dark clothing adorned only with a small crimson insignia marking him as part of King Rowan's special forces. The servants averted their eyes as he passed, and even the palace guards stood a little straighter, their hands tightening around spear shafts when his shadow fell across their posts. He had earned the fear in their eyes. 8 years of executing the crown's most delicate missions, eliminating threats, gathering intelligence from enemy kingdoms, and occasionally ensuring that certain political obstacles simply disappeared. His reputation was cultivated carefully, a weapon as sharp as the curved daggers hidden beneath his sleeves. "Lord Commander Darius awaits you," announced the young page stationed outside the war room, his voice cracking slightly when Tarek's amber eyes fixed upon him. Tarek nodded once, then entered the chamber where maps of the 5 kingdoms covered the walls, and a massive oak table dominated the center. Only 2 people occupied the room. Lord Commander Darius, a bear of a man whose battle scars told tales of his younger days on the battlefield, and King Rowan himself, whose crown seemed to weigh heavier with each passing year. "Your Majesty," Tarek said, bowing with precise formality. "You summoned me." King Rowan gestured to a chair. "Sit, Tarek. What I ask of you today is not to be taken lightly." The assassin remained standing. "I serve at your pleasure, sire." "It's about my daughter," King Rowan said, his weathered face showing rare vulnerability. "Princess Lyra's diplomatic mission to Westhold departs in 3 days." Tarek's expression remained neutral, though his mind quickly assessed the implications. Princess Lyra had recently emerged as Ardinia's most effective diplomat, her intelligence and natural charm winning concessions that armies could not. At just 22, she had already negotiated favorable trade agreements with 2 of the 5 kingdoms. "The negotiations with Westhold are critical," continued Lord Commander Darius, his finger tracing a line across the map. "Their mountain passes control access to the northern mines. Without an alliance, our kingdom faces a difficult winter." "And you fear for her safety," Tarek concluded. King Rowan nodded gravely. "Our spies report movement from Blackgale forces near the border. Queen Mora has never forgiven us for rejecting her son's marriage proposal to Lyra last spring." "You want me to eliminate the Blackgale threat?" Tarek asked, already calculating how many men he would need. "No," the king said firmly. "I need you to protect my daughter. Personally." For the first time in years, surprise registered on Tarek's face. "Sire, I'm not a bodyguard. The royal guards are well trained for such duties." "The royal guards are visible," Lord Commander Darius countered, "and predictable. We need someone who can move unseen, someone who can identify threats before they materialize. Someone expendable," Tarek added coolly. The king's jaw tightened. "Someone with your particular skills. You'll travel as part of her entourage, disguised as her scholarly advisor. Your presence will be known only to us 3 and Captain Eldon of her personal guard." Tarek considered refusing. His talents were wasted on babysitting duty, even if the charge was royal. But refusal wasn't truly an option. Not for a man with his past. "As you command," he finally said. "Though I doubt the princess will welcome my presence." A ghost of a smile crossed the king's face. "My daughter surprises even me sometimes. You may find her more perceptive than you expect." 3 hours later, Tarek found himself in the royal library, watching Princess Lyra from between shelves of ancient tomes. She sat at a massive desk covered with maps and scrolls, her copper hair falling in loose waves around a face remarkable not just for its beauty, but for the intensity of concentration it held. "You can stop lurking among the histories of the Second Age, sir," she called without looking up. "If my father sent you, you might as well introduce yourself properly." Tarek stepped forward, reassessing the princess. She wore a simple blue dress rather than court finery, practical for long hours of study. Her only jewelry was a silver pendant bearing the royal crest. "Your Highness," he bowed slightly. "I am Tarek." Her green eyes widened momentarily. The Phantom Blade himself. "I expected someone taller." "Most people do," he replied evenly. "It helps with disappointment when I kill them." Instead of fear, a smile flickered across her face. "Is that meant to frighten me? I grew up with 3 older brothers and a father who rules a kingdom constantly at war. It takes more than grim words to shake me. Your father believes your life is in danger." "My life is always in danger," she said, turning back to her maps. "Comes with the title. The question is, why send his most lethal assassin to play nursemaid? Unless—" Her brow furrowed. "The Black Veil movements aren't just rumors, are they?" Tarek studied her with newfound respect. "No. Queen Mora has positioned forces suspiciously close to the Westhold Road." Lyra sighed, pushing a strand of copper hair behind her ear. "Of course she has. Her son Bannon is as persistent as he is unsuitable. Apparently rejection just strengthened his resolve." "The diplomatic mission should be postponed," Tarek advised. "Impossible," Lyra said firmly. "Winter approaches. Without Westhold's cooperation, our northern provinces will suffer. I won't let our people starve because Queen Moira's son can't take no for an answer." "Then I'll accompany you." "As what?" "My shadow." "The court of Westhold is notoriously observant. Having the kingdom's most infamous assassin trailing me would hardly inspire confidence in our peaceful intentions." "As your scholarly advisor," Tarek said, gesturing to the books, "I'm more educated than most realize." Lyra looked skeptical. "Can you speak Westhold's ancient dialect?" "Their High Council insists on formal addresses in the old tongue." "Marin Valeric Suth Dimene," Tarek replied fluently. "Your wisdom honors the ancestors." The princess blinked in surprise. "Well, perhaps there is more to you than reputation suggests." "Very well, Advisor Tarek. We leave at dawn in 3 days. Try to find some clothing that doesn't make you look like you're about to slit someone's throat." The journey to Westhold began under clear autumn skies, their entourage consisting of 12 royal guards, 3 actual advisors, servants, and supply wagons. Tarek rode near the princess, who had surprised him by being a skilled equestrian. She rode astride rather than side saddle, practical leather breeches beneath her traveling dress. 2 days into their journey, as they made camp in a forested valley, Tarek noticed the first signs of surveillance. Broken branches too precisely placed, bird calls that came at too regular intervals. "We're being watched," he told Captain Eldon, a veteran soldier with a perpetual frown. "My men report nothing," Eldon replied stiffly. "Your men are looking for armies. I'm looking for shadows." That night, Tarek slipped away from camp, moving silently through the moonlit forest. He found the first scout within an hour, a Black Veil spy in dark leathers, marking their positions in a small journal. The man died silently, Tarek's blade ensuring he never made a sound. By dawn, he had eliminated 3 spies. But as he returned to camp, a cold certainty settled in his stomach. These weren't just observers. They were forward scouts for something larger. "We need to change our route," he told Princess Lyra as they broke their fast. "Immediately." She studied his face, noting the fresh scratch on his cheek. "You've been hunting." "We're being tracked. Black Veil knows our path." Captain Eldon overheard and joined them. "The mountain pass is the only viable route to Westhold this time of year." "Then we're walking into a trap," Tarek said bluntly. Princess Lyra considered this, her fingers absently touching the silver pendant at her throat. "There is another way. The Shepherd's Trail through Serpent's Gorge." "Absolutely not," Eldon protested. "It's too narrow for proper defense." "But unexpected," Lyra countered. "And known primarily to local herders, not foreign powers." "It's our best option," Tarek agreed. They altered course that morning, sending the main caravan ahead as a decoy while Princess Lyra, Tarek, Captain Eldon, and 4 of his best guards took the treacherous path through Serpent's Gorge, the narrow trail wound between towering rock walls, barely wide enough for their horses to walk single file. Halfway through the gorge, Tarek felt the hairs on his neck rise. He urged his horse forward, pulling alongside the princess. "Something's wrong," he whispered. "The birds have gone silent." The words had barely left his mouth when the first arrow struck Captain Eldon's shoulder. The ambush erupted from above, black-clad archers positioned on the cliff edges raining death upon them. "Protect the princess!" Eldon shouted as he pulled his sword, blood already soaking his tunic. Tarek grabbed Lyra's reins, urging both their horses forward as the royal guards formed a defensive position. An arrow whizzed past his ear, another grazing his mount. Ahead, the gorge narrowed further, offering some protection from the archers above. "We can't leave them," Lyra protested. "Your life is the priority," Tarek replied coldly, pulling her horse along. Just as they reached the narrower passage, a mounted figure appeared ahead, blocking their path. Behind him, more Blackveil soldiers emerged from hidden positions. "Princess Lyra," the lead rider called, removing his helmet to reveal a handsome face with cold eyes. "Prince Bannon sends his regards." Tarek assessed their situation swiftly. Behind them, the sounds of fighting had diminished. The royal guards were likely dead or captured. Ahead, at least 8 mounted soldiers blocked their escape. The cliff walls were too steep to climb. "Stay behind me," he told Lyra, dismounting and drawing his blades. "There's too many," she whispered, eyes wide but voice steady. Tarek gave her a grim smile. "That just makes it interesting." The Blackveil commander laughed. "1 man against 8. Even the famous Phantom Blade can't overcome those odds." "You know who I am," Tarek said, stepping forward. "Then you know what I'm capable of." "Kill him," the commander ordered. "Take the princess alive." What followed would later be told in taverns throughout Ardinia. Tarek moved like a dark whirlwind, his twin blades catching the sunlight as they claimed their first victim before the man could even raise his sword. The second and third fell in quick succession, their surprise evident even in death. Princess Lyra was not helpless herself. From her boot, she drew a slim dagger, and when a soldier grabbed her from behind, she plunged it into his thigh, earning her freedom. But Tarek knew the odds were insurmountable. For every soldier he cut down, more seemed to appear from the rocks. A sword sliced across his back, another cut deeply into his arm. Blood soaked his tunic, yet he fought on, positioning himself constantly between the attackers and Lyra. When the commander himself engaged Tarek, the assassin was already wounded in 6 places. Yet he fought with the desperation of a man with nothing to lose, driving the commander back step by step. "Why fight so hard for her?" the commander gasped, parrying a vicious strike. "You're nothing but a tool to the crown. Disposable." "Perhaps," Tarek agreed, blood trickling from his lips. "But today, I choose what I die for." With his remaining strength, Tarek threw one of his daggers, striking the last archer aiming at the princess. Then he turned and locked eyes with Lyra. "Run," he commanded. "The gorge opens ahead. Westhold patrols this territory." Understanding dawned in her eyes. "Come with me." "I'll hold them here," he said, turning back to face the remaining soldiers. "Go, now." As Princess Lyra fled toward Westhold territory, Tarek stood his ground in the narrow passage, his body a final barrier between her and her pursuers. The feared assassin, the kingdom's shadowy weapon, had found something worth protecting with his final breath. Behind him, hoofbeats faded into the distance as Princess Lyra rode toward safety, carrying with her the memory of a man the kingdom had feared, until he gave everything to defend their princess. Redemption's price. The Blackveil soldiers found only blood when they reached the narrow passage where Tarek had made his stand. A trail of crimson droplets led deeper into the gorge, but the feared assassin himself had vanished like a shadow at noon. Their commander, nursing a deep wound in his shoulder, ordered a retreat. The princess had escaped, and pursuing her onto Westhold territory would risk international incident. Princess Lyra reached the Westhold border patrol as dusk painted the mountains in hues of purple and gold. The guards, recognizing the royal insignia of Ardinia, immediately escorted her to their nearest outpost. As she explained the ambush, a Westhold captain dispatched riders, some to inform their king of her arrival, others to search for survivors from her entourage. And my advisor, Lyra insisted, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. A man named Tarek. He saved my life. The captain's expression was grim. We'll search, Your Highness, but if he faced Blackveil's forces alone. Find him, she commanded with unexpected authority. Whether alive or dead, he deserves to be honored for his sacrifice. It was near midnight when the search party returned, carrying a figure wrapped in a bloodied cloak. Lyra's heart sank, but as they entered the torchlit courtyard, the bundle moved. Tarek was alive, barely. His body was a tapestry of wounds, his breathing shallow and labored. "The Phantom survives," whispered one of the Westhold guards, recognition and fear mingling in his voice. "Not the Phantom," Lyra corrected firmly. "Tarek of Ardinia, royal advisor and hero of the crown." For 3 days, Lyra delayed the diplomatic negotiations, refusing to proceed until Tarek's fate was certain. She sat beside his pallet in the fortress infirmary, watching as Westhold's most skilled healers worked to save the man her father had once used as a weapon. On the 4th morning, Tarek opened his eyes to find the princess asleep in a chair beside him, her copper hair falling across the diplomatic papers in her lap. "You should be negotiating, not watching me die," he said, his voice rough from disuse. Lyra startled awake. "You're not dying. Not anymore. At least. A disappointment to many, I'm sure." She smiled, relief evident in her eyes. "Not to me." Tarek attempted to sit up, wincing as pain lanced through his bandaged torso. "The Blackveil forces retreated. Westhold is outraged by the attack on their territory. They've pledged military support against Queen Mora's aggression." "Then your mission is successful." "Partly," Lyra admitted. "But there's something more troubling. The Blackveil commander. He knew exactly where to find us, even after we changed route." Tarek's eyes narrowed. "Someone betrayed us. Someone in my father's court," she confirmed. "Someone with access to our plans." Before they could discuss further, the door opened to admit Captain Eldon, his arm in a sling but otherwise intact. His expression darkened at the sight of Tarek conscious. "Your Highness," he bowed. "The Westhold Council awaits your presence." "Thank you, Captain. I'm pleased to see you survived." "By the grace of the gods," Eldon replied. "3 of my men escaped as well. The others died with honor." Tarek watched the captain carefully. "How did you evade capture, Captain?" "Last I saw, you were surrounded." A flash of something. Annoyance? Anger? Crossed Eldon's face. "I fought my way clear and led the Blackveil forces away from the princess's escape route." "Fortunate," Tarek commented, his tone neutral but his eyes hard. After Eldon escorted the princess to her diplomatic duties, Tarek forced himself to stand. His body protested, wounds threatening to reopen, but instinct drove him forward. Something about Eldon's story didn't align with what he had witnessed in the gorge. Using skills honed through years of palace infiltration, Tarek managed to access Captain Eldon's quarters while the man attended the princess. There, hidden in a false bottom of his traveling chest, he found his answer: correspondence bearing Queen Mora's seal, and a pouch of gold far heavier than a captain's salary could explain. When the diplomatic session concluded that evening, Tarek was waiting in Princess Lyra's chambers, the evidence laid out on her writing desk. "You should be resting," she chided, then stopped when she saw his expression. "What's happened?" "Captain Eldon has betrayed Ardinia," Tarek said without preamble. "He's been in Queen Mora's pay for at least 6 months." Lyra's face paled as she examined the letters. "He led us into that ambush deliberately." and will likely attempt to finish what he started before we return to Ardinia. The princess sank into a chair, one hand instinctively touching the silver pendant at her throat. What do we do? If I accuse my father's trusted captain without proof beyond these letters? We need more than papers, Tarek agreed. We need confession. And how do you propose to get that? The smile that crossed Tarek's face was reminiscent of the feared assassin he had been. I have certain skills in that department. No, Lyra said firmly. No torture, no threats. We are diplomats now, not executioners. Then what do you suggest? Lyra's green eyes took on a calculating gleam that reminded Tarek suddenly of King Rowan at his most strategic. A trap, using the one thing Eldon wants most. Which is? Me, she said simply. Or rather, the opportunity to eliminate me in a way that can't be traced back to him. Tarek shook his head. Too dangerous. Says the man who faced 8 soldiers alone to save me. That was different. Was it? Lyra challenged. You risked everything for Ardinia. Why shouldn't I? In the end, they compromised. Word was strategically spread that Princess Lyra had discovered sensitive information that she would only discuss with her father upon her return. That night, as expected, the door to her chambers opened silently. But it wasn't Lyra asleep in the bed, but carefully arranged pillows beneath the covers. The princess herself was hidden in the wardrobe, while Tarek, still weak but deadly as ever, waited in the shadows. Captain Eldon moved toward the bed with practiced silence, a small vial of clear liquid in his hand. As he pulled back the covers to reveal the deception, Tarek struck, disarming him with brutal efficiency. Captain Eldon, Princess Lyra said, emerging from her hiding place. You disappoint me. Your Highness, Eldon stammered, his face ashen. I was merely checking on your safety. With poison? Tarek asked, holding up the vial he had knocked from Eldon's hand. What followed was not torture, but something perhaps more effective. Princess Lyra, drawing on all her diplomatic training, systematically dismantled every lie Eldon offered. She presented evidence, countered his denials, and finally, when he realized the futility of his position, obtained his full confession. Queen Mora promised me lands, titles. Eldon spat, his earlier pretense abandoned. More than I would ever receive serving your father. And the lives of Ardenian soldiers. Your own men. Lyra asked, disgust evident in her voice. Casualties of ambition, Eldon replied coldly. Just as you would have been. Tarek, who had remained silent throughout the confession, finally spoke. There are faster ways to extract the information we still need. Who else in the court is part of this conspiracy? Fear flickered in Eldon's eyes. The Phantom Blade's methods of interrogation were legendary. Lord Verrill coordinates everything. Lady Bethany passes information through her merchant connections. Commander Silas ensures the military response is always delayed. Lyra's expression hardened with each name, all trusted advisors to her father. You've done more than betray your oath, Captain. You've endangered the entire kingdom. Ardinia is weak, Eldon snarled. Your father clings to outdated alliances, while Blackveil grows stronger. Queen Mora will rule the 5 kingdoms within a decade. I merely chose the winning side. A poor calculation, Tarek observed quietly. Particularly now. The return journey to Ardinia was tense, with Eldon kept under constant guard. Princess Lyra had negotiated not only the trade agreements she sought, but also a military escort from Westhold, insurance against any further Blackveil aggression. Tarek, though still recovering from his wounds, never left the princess's side, his vigilance undiminished by their apparent victory. You're expecting another attack, Lyra observed as they made camp on their final night, the walls of Ardenia's capital visible in the distance. Eldon's conspirators will know something is wrong when they see him in chains, Tarek confirmed. They'll move against us before we can reach the king. Yet you seem almost pleased by the prospect. A faint smile touched his lips. I understand battle better than politics, Princess. The enemy is clearer. And after, When the traitors are exposed and my father's court purged, the question caught him off guard. After, what will the phantom blade do when there are no more shadows to fight? Her green eyes studied him with an intensity that made him strangely uncomfortable. I serve at your father's pleasure, he answered automatically. That's not what I asked. Before he could formulate a response, a warning horn blasted from the perimeter of their camp. Tarek was on his feet instantly, blades drawn. Stay in your tent, he ordered. The Westhold guards will protect you. While you do what? Face another impossible battle alone. Lyra grabbed his arm. I won't allow it. This isn't your decision, Princess. No, it's yours, Tarek. But remember, you're no longer just the king's weapon. You're the hero who saved his daughter. Your life has value beyond your blades. The unexpected words struck him more deeply than he cared to admit. For 8 years, he had been the phantom, a thing of whispers and fear. The possibility of being something more had never occurred to him. The attack, when it came, was coordinated and precise. Lord Verrill himself led 50 men against their camp, targeting the princess's tent specifically. What they hadn't anticipated was Tarek's strategy. Princess Lyra had been secretly relocated to a merchant wagon at the edge of camp, while her tent contained a full contingent of Westhold's finest warriors. Tarek intercepted Lord Verrill as the nobleman fought his way toward what he believed was his royal target. The lord was no soldier, but desperation made him dangerous. The phantom blade. Verrill sneered, recognizing Tarek despite his injuries. Still playing lapdog to the crown. Better than traitor, Tarek replied, circling the older man. How much did Queen Moira pay for your loyalty, my lord? Was it worth the hangman's noose that awaits you? Verrill lunged, surprisingly quick for his age. Queen Moira offers a new order, stability, strength. King Rowan is weak, his daughter weaker still. Their blades clashed, Tarek's experience evident in every calculated move. Yet his recent wounds slowed him, allowing Verrill to score a cut across his ribs. The princess saw potential in Ardinia that you couldn't, Tarek said, pressing forward despite the fresh pain. Potential that doesn't require selling our sovereignty to Blackvale. What would an assassin know of governance? Verrill gasped, giving ground before Tarek's assault. More than a traitor who betrays his oaths, Tarek answered, disarming the lord with a brutal strike. Verrill fell to his knees, clutching his now useless hand. Finish it then. It changes nothing. Queen Moira's forces gather at our borders even now. Tarek raised his blade for the killing stroke, then paused, Lyra's words echoing in his mind. You're no longer just the king's weapon. Your death comes at the king's justice. Not mine, he said, binding the lord's hands instead. The battle turned quickly once Lord Verrill was captured. Most of his followers surrendered rather than face the combined might of Ardenian loyal forces and Westhold allies. By dawn, the road to the capital lay open, and Princess Lyra rode triumphantly through the city gates with the captured conspirators in tow. King Rowan's reunion with his daughter was tearful and public, a demonstration to the people that their princess had returned victorious from both diplomatic mission and treasonous plot. The traitors were imprisoned awaiting trial, and immediate preparations began to counter Queen Moira's anticipated military response. Tarek, as was his custom, remained in the shadows during the public celebration. His wounds had reopened during the final battle, and he had retreated to the quiet of the palace gardens to rebind them when Princess Lyra found him. Hiding from your accolades? She asked, approaching silently in a way that would have impressed him from anyone else. I serve better from the darkness, Princess. Perhaps once, she acknowledged. But Ardenia needs more than shadows now. My father has received intelligence that Queen Moira herself leads her army toward our borders. This is no longer about my rejected suitor. She means to conquer while our court is in disarray. Tarek finished securing his bandages. Your father has capable generals, who just discovered half their command structure was compromised, Lyra countered. He needs someone he can trust absolutely. someone who has proven their loyalty beyond question. Understanding dawned. You can't be suggesting. My father has named you War Commander, effective immediately. Tarek actually laughed, a sound so unexpected it surprised even him. I'm an assassin, Princess. A spy, a killer, not a general. You're whatever Ardinia needs you to be, she said simply. Just as you were whatever I needed in that gorge. Before he could argue further, palace bells began tolling in alarm. A breathless messenger appeared, bowing hastily to the princess. Your Highness, Blackveil forces have breached the northern defenses. Queen Mora's army will reach the capital by nightfall tomorrow. Lyra turned to Tarek, challenge in her eyes. Still believe you're just an assassin? The transition from shadow operative to war commander was as difficult as Tarek had predicted. The remaining generals resented taking orders from the Phantom Blade, a man they had previously regarded with fear rather than respect. Yet King Rowan was firm in his appointment, and Princess Lyra's unwavering support gradually swayed the military leadership. Tarek's strategy was unconventional but effective. Rather than meeting Queen Mora's superior forces directly, he organized the defense in layers. False retreats, ambushes, and carefully planned choke points that would use Ardenia's familiarity with their own territory against the invaders. You're thinking like an assassin, not a general, complained one of the older commanders during planning. Exactly, Tarek replied without apology. And that's precisely what Queen Mora doesn't expect. As predicted, the Blackveil army reached the capital's outer territories by nightfall the next day. What followed was 3 days of the most unusual defensive warfare in Ardenia's history. Tarek's forces struck from unexpected angles, disappeared before retaliation, and slowly bled the invading army's strength and morale. On the 4th day, Queen Mora demanded a parley. King Rowan, Princess Lyra, and Tarek rode out to meet her beneath a flag of truce on the central bridge spanning the river that divided the city from the battlefield. You've become quite a nuisance, Queen Mora addressed Tarek directly, ignoring protocol. The famous Phantom Blade, now playing at being a general. Not playing, Your Majesty, Tarek responded evenly. Your losses these past 3 days should make that clear. The Queen's perfectly composed face showed a flicker of irritation. A temporary setback. My reinforcements arrive from the east tomorrow. Your little kingdom cannot withstand the full might of Blackveil. Perhaps not, King Rowan interjected. But Ardenia does not stand alone. Westhold has pledged their support. Westhold is 3 days' march away. Queen Mora dismissed. They will find your crown upon my son's head before they arrive. Princess Lyra stepped forward. There remains a peaceful solution, Queen Mora. Withdraw your forces, and Ardenia will not seek reparations for this unprovoked attack. The Queen laughed, a sound like ice breaking. Peace. After I've committed my army, after your father's pet assassin has killed hundreds of my soldiers. No, Princess. Today ends with your surrender, or your destruction. Tarek had been studying the Queen's entourage throughout the exchange. What he saw confirmed his suspicions. Her reinforcements were a bluff. The Blackveil officers showed the subtle signs of men pushed beyond their resources, not victors awaiting final triumph. There will be no surrender, he stated firmly, and no destruction of Ardenia. Queen Mora's eyes narrowed. You speak out of turn, assassin. He speaks as war commander of Ardenia, King Rowan declared, and with my full authority. Then you're a greater fool than I thought. The Queen spat. Prepare for your final battle. I will accept nothing less than unconditional surrender by sunset. As they rode back toward the city, Tarek remained unusually silent. Finally, Princess Lyra urged her horse alongside his. You saw something during the parley, she observed. Her eastern reinforcements don't exist, he confirmed, but she's planning something else, something that makes her confident despite her weakened position. The realization struck him suddenly, pieces falling into place. The river. She means to dam the upper flow and flood the lower city. King Rowan paled. Thousands of civilians live in the lower districts. A massacre that would force our surrender to prevent further bloodshed, Lyra concluded. It fits her methods. Tarek made his decision. I need a small team, 10 men at most, capable of moving undetected through enemy territory. To stop the damming operation, the king asked. Yes, but there's more. Tarek's expression was grim. Queen Mora will be personally overseeing the operation. She's too proud to delegate the decisive blow. If she's killed by Ardenian forces, it will mean all-out war with Blackveil, King Rowan warned. Her son Bannon would have the support of every kingdom to avenge her. I don't intend to kill her, Tarek replied. I intend to capture her. The night operation was Tarek at his most lethal. Leading a team of Ardenia's most skilled infiltrators, he moved through the Blackveil army like a ghost, disabling sentries and creating a path toward the river's narrow gorge, where engineering crews worked feverishly to complete the improvised dam. Queen Mora stood on a command platform overlooking the operation, her distinctive armor gleaming in the torchlight. She was surrounded by her royal guards, but her attention was fixed on the dam construction below. The engineers first, Tarek instructed his team. Then the guards. The queen must be taken alive. What followed was precision violence, swift, silent, and targeted. The engineering crews found themselves immobilized by sleep darts and binding cords. The queen's outer guard perimeter was systematically neutralized, each man removed so quietly that those nearby never noticed their disappearance. When only the queen's personal guards remained, Tarek gave the signal for the coordinated attack. Smoke bombs concealed their approach, while flash charges disoriented the defenders. In the confusion, Tarek moved directly toward Queen Mora, who had drawn her ceremonial sword. Predictable, she sneered as he appeared before her. The Phantom Blade himself comes for me. For Ardenia, he corrected, deflecting her surprisingly skilled attack. Is there a difference? She countered, pressing forward with unexpected ferocity. You've become as much a symbol of that pathetic kingdom as its crown. Their duel was brief but intense. Queen Mora fought with the calculated precision of one trained from birth in the warrior traditions of Blackveil. Yet Tarek had spent his life perfecting the art of combat, and despite his recent injuries, his skill was unmatched. With a disarming maneuver that left the queen off balance, Tarek finally subdued her, careful to ensure she remained unharmed. Kill me and be done with it, she hissed as his team secured the command platform. My son will avenge me tenfold. Your death serves no one, Tarek replied, binding her hands. Your capture, however, ends this war before more blood is spilled. By dawn, news of Queen Mora's capture had spread throughout both armies. The Blackveil forces, leaderless and demoralized, agreed to withdraw when presented with terms surprisingly lenient for a defeated aggressor. Princess Lyra, once again demonstrating her diplomatic prowess, had convinced her father that humiliating Blackveil would only sow seeds for future conflict. In the great hall of Ardenia's palace, Queen Mora stood proudly before King Rowan despite her status as prisoner. The terms of peace were presented. Blackveil would withdraw all forces, pay modest reparations for damages caused, and commit to a 5-year non-aggression pact with both Ardenia and Westfold. And in return, Queen Mora asked, suspicion evident in her voice. You return to your throne, Princess Lyra stated. Blackveil remains independent, and no further action is taken against your kingdom. The queen's composure faltered momentarily. You spare me. After all this, executing you would create a martyr, King Rowan explained, and your son would have cause to rally the other kingdoms against us. Peace serves Ardenia better than vengeance. Queen Mora's gaze shifted to Tarek, who stood slightly behind the princess, and the Phantom Blade agrees to stay his hand. The man who built his legend on death now advocates mercy. I serve Ardenia, Tarek replied simply, in whatever capacity best protects her future. The treaty was signed that afternoon, and arrangements made for Queen Mora's escort back to her borders. As the court dispersed, Tarek found himself approached by King Rowan and Princess Lyra in the quiet of the royal gardens. War commander is typically a lifetime appointment, the king began without preamble. Though I understand if you wish to return to your previous duties. Tarek considered the offer carefully. 8 years he had served from the shadows, his identity built around being the weapon others feared to wield. Yet these past weeks had shown him another path, one where his skills served more than death. I will serve where I am needed, Your Majesty, he answered finally. But perhaps Ardinia has less need for shadows now. Princess Lyra smiled. Then perhaps it's time the phantom blade stepped into the light. As the sun set over Ardinia, casting long shadows across the kingdom he had helped preserve, Tarek realized that for the first time in years, he was looking toward the future rather than the next mission. The journey from feared assassin to respected commander would not be easy, but as he watched Princess Lyra deep in conversation with her father, he knew it was a path worth taking. The kingdom had feared him once. Now he would become someone worth believing in.